For the longest time, the New York Jets have been considered to be a struggling franchise. Season after season, they find themselves most likely finishing last in the division and sometimes with one of the worst records in the league. But this offseason has made people wonder whether the Jets might return into contenders. With rumors of the Jets most likely trading for Aaron Rodgers, their team can very well turn into one of the top dogs in the league. So let me ask the question, are the New York Jets becoming contenders? Well, let's find out. Let's start off by looking at the Jets team last season. The New York Jets finished the 2022 NFL season with a record of 7-10. While that is a below average record, it's pretty good for the New York Jets. If you look at their previous seasons, since 2016, this team has finished with the worst record. Besides 2019, the rest of the years are atrocious. Let's look at this team to see why their record was 7-10. The Jets started two quarterbacks, Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco. Wilson was their main guy, so let's focus more on him. Wilson started in 9 games in 2022 and did not play very well. He had a little under 1,700 receiving yards with 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. To make matters even worse, PFF gave him a grade of 46.5. That is terrible to say the least. Wilson's main issues when out on the field were 2 things. 1, the fact he struggled reading coverages, and 2, the fact he was poised under pressure. He didn't know where to attack a given defense, and it only gets harder when you do not know what to do with plenty of pressure. Wilson also had throwing problems, as according to Matt LaFleur, he said, quote, "There are things physically in the lower half that we've got to get corrected." So I think we can all agree Zach Wilson is one problem for the New York Jets. But what about the other parts of the team, such as their defense and their offensive line? Their offensive line wasn't looking too bad last season. It had some talent, but the problem was their guys were unproven, which made it difficult to determine if they were here to stay. Guys like George Fant and Laken Tomlinson did not finish the season with a good impression. PFF stated that George Fant looked admirable when replacing Mekhi Becton after his injury, but finished the season with a grade of 48.4, which is terrible. The better players on the O-line were Elijah Vera Tucker and Connor McGovern. Tucker's grade came in at 71.8, and McGovern had a grade of 69.6. Not bad. As for their defense, it was by far one of the best defenses in the league. Their defense was ranked 4th in the league by ESPN, as they gave up 311 yards per game. A few guys who played well on defense were Quinnen Williams, who had a career-high 12 sacks, 28 QB hits, and 31 pressures. That gave him a PFF grade of 90.1. Another man who played very well was their cornerback, Sauce Gardner. He had a top coverage of 90.2. He did this as a rookie, and he was a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro that season. So it's safe to say Gardner and Williams are 2 guys who've done their job. The Jets' defense was probably the strongest part of their roster. Their defense averaged 18.6 points allowed in 2022, which is very good. Now, as for other key parts of their offense, such as running back, wide receiver, and tight end, it was looking decent. Their best wide receiver in 2022 was Garrett Wilson. He had 1,100 receiving yards as a rookie with 83 receptions and 4 touchdowns. By playing this well as a rookie, he would go on to become the AP Offensive Player Rookie of the Year. He became the 11th wide receiver in history to win this award, and it has been around since 1967. As for the other players, their second wide receiver was Corey Davis, who was an average player. In 2022, he started in 10 games and had over 500 receiving yards with 32 receptions and 2 touchdowns, which isn't anything crazy. For running back, it was supposed to be Breece Hall, but because of a torn ACL, he only played in 2 games. Instead, Robert Saleh had Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter, who was starting at running back. Michael Carter started in more games than Knight, as he ran for 402 yards with 3 touchdowns and averaged about 25 yards per game. Zonovan Knight only played in 4 games, so he did not play enough for us to determine whether he is a good player. For tight end, the Jets had Tyler Conklin, and he was one of the weaker parts of the Jets' offense. Conklin had 552 receiving yards with 58 receptions and averaged about 9.5 yards per reception. PFF gave him a grade of 58.5, which is not too good. Conklin was never a player that was looked at as great. Yes, he did have an above-average season with the Minnesota Vikings in 2021, but besides that, that's kind of it. He hasn't surprised the league in any way. But all in all, if we had to look at this Jets team and give some feedback, it would be an average team. There are some parts of the team that are strong or look like they can get stronger, like their defense and some receivers. And they got other parts of the team that look quite weak, such as the QB and the O-line. So what have the Jets been doing during the offseason to try and improve on their team? Well, let's just say they have been aching some players. For one, the Jets have signed Allen Lazard to a 4-year deal. Lazard came off of a pretty good 2022 season. He had a career high of 788 receiving yards with 60 receptions and 6 touchdowns. By adding him to this Jets team, him and Garrett Wilson could be a good duo. The Jets have also attempted improving the offensive line as they signed Tristan Colon Castillo. While he has barely played in his career, he is 25 years old, which means he's still progressing as a youngling in the league. If the Jets start him or try getting him on the field as much as possible, he can become a key asset to the offensive line. The Jets also signed another wide receiver during the offseason named McCall Hartman. Hartman previously played on the Chiefs and his role on the team was less relevant than other players, but signing him can very well help if any injuries occur. He can be a good replacement. So let me ask the question once more. Are the New York Jets turning into contenders? After making a few minor but helpful moves, they could be top contenders next season, right? Well, it all depends on this one transaction, and there's a good reason why I left it at the end of this video. If the Jets find a way to bring Aaron Rodgers to their team, then Jets fans can officially call themselves contenders. Rodgers has enough help on this Jets team. Sure, the offensive line can be a little better, but he has some young up-and-coming receivers, a developing running back, and one of the best defenses in the league. It's kind of obvious he wants out of Green Bay, and the rumors of him joining the Jets have been quite hot. So to conclude this video, if the New York Jets successfully acquire Aaron Rodgers, then I believe these guys can be playoff contenders. Rodgers is the answer for this team, and although retirement home is right around the corner, he can still do some special things at 39 years old. We will see what the future holds. And that is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, please consider to leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. I'm out.